Well, welcome back. Welcome to April. I'm excited that we're here again together, and hopefully today's class will be useful for you as you head off into midway through the week. As always, feel free to take any poses that you need, don't take any poses that you don't need, and adjust as needed. And I'll stick around after class for about 10 minutes or so this morning if you have any questions or anything like that. But as we are all finding our way to our mats, wherever we are with any guests that are joining us this morning, I want us to just spend a couple minutes in an opening meditation of just arriving, just spending time finding our breath, finding our center, finding where we're grounded. And so wherever you are seated, or if you'd like to lie down, just find a position that you can be in for about 3 minutes where we can just find our breath again. And I've noticed this week for me, I don't know if it's just the changing of the seasons or the other changes going on in life, but I've been breathing more shallowly, and that's definitely brought back a lot of things, from anxiety to noticing my jaws clenched to even headaches at different times. And so I want to spend some time this morning just finding our breath again and finding our deep breath. So wherever you are, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and just close your eyes and begin to breathe all the way down into your belly. And so if you have a visualization that you like where you imagine that your belly is a balloon and it fills up, or you like to count your breath, or something else that works really well for you, go ahead and come to that and just begin to breathe deeply and begin to notice what that feels like in your body. Notice if you can feel your side body expanding, your back body expanding, or just notice if it feels different than the way that you've been feeling for the past week or so. And as you begin to deepen your breath, begin to maybe just hold it for a second or two once you fill up and once your inhale is complete before you exhale. And just thank your body for being able to do this today. Whatever it did yesterday and whatever it will do tomorrow or those days. But right now, in this time, you're able to take a deep breath and your body is able to fill up what it needs. And on your next exhale, think about something that you want to let go of. What is something that either you feel like you don't need anymore, you know that you don't need anymore, or you just want to get rid of? And see if over the next few breaths, over the next minute or two, where I'll spend some time in silence, you can just take in what you do need and let go of what you don't need. Because part of this practice is coming back to yourself, coming back to your body, thanking it for where it's at today, in this time, in this moment, and letting go of any expectations of where it should be. I think over the last year, the shoulds have really gotten in the way of a lot of things and sometimes paused us from being able to be as peaceful as we can be, even amidst change. So take some more breaths for a minute or two, and then we'll move into our poses together. And take 3 more breaths in whatever position you're currently in, focusing on noticing yourself expand as you inhale and contract and let go and surrender as you exhale. All right, and our first pose that we're going to come into today is actually a pose that I don't know that we've done in this class before, and it's called deer pose. And so I will adjust so you can see me better. And so deer pose is a two-sided pose. And so go ahead and wherever you are, if you're in a seat, go ahead and just shift around so that you are facing long ways on your mat. And we're going to have one leg in front and one leg in the back. So I'll start with my right leg forward. And what you'll do is you will adjust yourself so that your right shin is parallel to the top of your mat. So your knee is coming directly out from your hip. And then your left leg, your left knee will come directly out of your left hip. And so it's directly coming, I'll shift to the side so you can see maybe a different angle. Your right knee will be parallel to the front, similar to maybe pigeon pose, but then your left leg will come directly out of your left hip and be directly out to the side with the shin parallel to the side of the mat. And so what this will look like, and it is kind of a rotation of your hips. And so you'll notice that your left hip will maybe be dropping forward a little bit, which is okay. You should feel that rotation and feel this on kind of your inner thigh. Some people maybe feel it in their glutes as well. And so deer pose can be done in a couple different ways once your legs are adjusted. You can choose to fold forward. I prefer to go backwards in this to intensify the left inner thigh stretch. And so once you found your shin parallel to the front and shin parallel to the side of the mat with your knees coming right up from your hips, place your hands behind you and slowly begin to walk them back. You can decide how deeply you want to walk back as the sensation tells your body what you need today. But you've kind of got right angles with both of your knees. You can walk your hands back. Maybe you have a prop behind you that you'd like to lie back on. Maybe your body it's enough today to just lean back with your arms. Wherever you are, find deer pose on this side and allow something in your inner thighs or your hip area to just soften and release on your exhales so that you can just be in this pose and hold it for the next couple minutes. And if you're finding that you're noticing that you're holding your neck, maybe just stay upright or maybe try walking your hands forward and drape over that front leg. It'll definitely change the sensation in your legs, but it will make it where you're not gripping your head or holding it up, which can cause a lot of neck tension, jaw tension, and things like that. And so wherever you are, find that pose. Maybe you come down onto elbows. Maybe you come down onto a bolster behind you. But just settle in. Let something go on your exhale. And just be here today. And once you found yourself settled, take another super deep inhale, filling up all parts of your body with your breath, noticing which parts feel like they're inflating, holding that sensation for just a moment, and then slowly letting it go so that you can release. We hold things in our bodies in places we don't even know they're held until we find them. So if you're feeling that in this pose, that's okay. Just found a place to breathe into. Got about a minute left here on this side. Taking those 3 final breaths. And on the second one, if you lied yourself all the way back, maybe begin to slowly adjust so that your hands can come underneath you, and use the next few breaths to slowly push yourself back up to a neutral place. And before we come into the other side, we're just going to do an interesting half shoelace pose. And so we'll just stretch out our right leg out in front of us and bring our left leg over top of it. So that your left foot crosses over and your left knee is maybe stacking on top of your right knee with your right leg stretched out. And this might completely wake up your hip or remind you that it's tight today. And so grab onto your left knee with your hands and decide if you'd like to attempt to fold forward for just a minute and see what this feels like, stretching out the back of your leg, back of your right leg. Maybe your left hip is also stretching out. And take 5 breaths here, just riding this sensation, noticing your body, using your breath to make sure that you can stay here, trying not to let it get too shallow. And then when you're feeling complete, go ahead and just bring both legs out in front of you, bounce them up and down, let that blood flow go back through, let the sensation adjust. And we'll move into deer pose on the other side. And so this time our left shin will be parallel to the top of our mat. Our right shin will be parallel to the side of our mat, making sure that your hips are coming, or knees are coming directly out of your hips so that you've got some 90-degree angles with your legs. If you had a prop behind you that you liked to lay on, make sure to adjust that to the opposite side of your mat. And then making sure that you feel this rotation in your hips and that it feels okay, even if it's a very strong sensation. Deciding if you'd like to fold forward over your left leg or walk your hands backward. Deciding where your edge is today. Don't go all the way there, but just ride that wave of sensation. Let your body release a little bit. Find your way down, whether that be forward or backwards. And then let something go from your inner right hip, right thigh, maybe left thigh. Just use your breath to breathe into places and imagine that you can expand that tension and release it just ever so slowly with each exhale. As we've talked about before in classes, our hips hold a lot and they do a lot for us throughout the day. And so focusing specifically on keeping them in one position for up to 3 minutes can be quite a challenge, but also quite an accomplishment. And I want to encourage you that this week, between this class and our next class, when you find moments that feel challenging, I want you to push through those to the best of your ability. And whatever accomplishment that you have through that challenge, see it as the accomplishment that it is. We are still very much living in the middle of an incredible trauma and an incredible moment in time. And so waking up, getting up, and choosing to come to this class today is your first accomplishment of the day. And if we begin to see our days as full of mini accomplishments amidst an incredible trauma, we can begin to give ourselves a little bit more grace when we need to take a nap, or we need to take a minute to breathe, or we need to say no to something because we just don't have the energy for it. It's okay. Many of us come to this experience having a very different level of energy than we had maybe 13 months ago. But we have the energy that we have today, and it's important to use it well and use it on things that bring us joy and that we find value in. So whatever that is, use your time and your energy wisely and celebrate the many accomplishments that you have as you make choices throughout each day. As we make choices, as we step into new chapters, new seasons, and new adventures. So take 3 more breaths in this deer pose on this side. And then after that final breath, go ahead, if you were lying back, and slowly press into your mat and your props. Press yourself up. And we'll just do that interesting shoelace-like pose on this side as well. So straighten out your left leg, swing your right leg around, stacking your right knee over your left knee a little bit. And just allowing that left leg to be stretched out, right leg to be bent over. Grip onto your right knee with your hands, sit up tall. Take an inhale breath, and then decide if you'd like to fold yourself forward over your leg to change this sensation. See what that feels like, and just breathe there for about 5 breaths, noticing your leg. Once you feel complete there, just bring your legs both stretched out in front of you, bounce them up and down, let things move around. We're just going to come into child's pose as our next pose. And so go ahead and bend both of your knees, bring them underneath your hips, push your big toes together. Spread your knees out wide if you like a wide-legged child's pose. That can be most relaxing. But if you like to have your knees together, also feel free. And then go ahead and just stretch your hands out in front of you. Send your hips back towards your heels. And just allow your body to drape down between your legs over your mat. If you'd like to add a prop underneath you, that can add some relaxation and make it more of a restorative pose. But just allow your arms to be outstretched, feeling the full length of your spine stretched out. Drop your forehead between your arms, maybe press it onto the mat. And in this child's pose, notice what a deep breath feels like in your upper back, in your side body. We started the class in an upward facing position, and now I want to spend some time for the next couple minutes in a downward facing position, just going internal, coming back to what it is today that you came to practice looking for. And think to yourself, how can you give yourself that throughout today? In your time off the mat, how can you continue to find some peace, find some calm, and find a deep breath amidst anything that you have coming towards you today? And coming back to your breath, if you ever lose focus or find your mind wandering to other things, taking a deep breath, noticing where it goes, noticing if you can inhale and fill up your upper back in the way that we often fill up our bellies, that space behind your heart. And exhale, see if you can let that exhale out and see if you can drape yourself a little bit closer to the mat. Allow your chest to just relax a little bit more for these next few breaths. And then begin to press your hands into the mat. Slowly lift up your body. Notice what it feels like in your hips as you begin to unwind them from this compression. And we're going to come into another open-faced pose or open chest pose, and this pose will be saddle pose. And so I like to use a prop with this pose behind me. And so if you have a bolster and you'd like to have it, go ahead and place it behind you, behind your back, just coming up onto your knees from sitting in child's pose. And then with your knees tucked underneath you, go ahead and shift so that your heels come out to the side and you can sit down between your heels. And if you are experiencing anything that this doesn't work for your knees, you are welcome to do this one leg at a time or come onto your back into a figure 4 position that will stretch out your hips. It's a little bit different stretch than saddle pose, but please don't hurt yourself or your knees today. And so once you find yourself sitting between your heels, we're going to just lie ourselves back onto the prop that's behind us or onto the floor if that's what you would like to do today. And so saddle pose will really open up a lot on our front body and also allow a stretch for our knees. So press your hands into the mat on either side of your feet and then begin to just walk them backwards to wherever is best for you today. Being mindful of your lower back, if you begin to feel any pinching in it, just kind of press into the mat, lift your hips up, and maybe tuck your tailbone under a little bit more. And then maybe you come down onto forearms or elbows. Then maybe you drape yourself all the way back onto the prop behind you. And here in saddle pose, we're really stretching out and opening up the front of our legs, but also the front of our abdomen. And then depending upon where you'd like to place your arms, this can also be a chest opener. So feel free to place your arms out to the side, straight out, goalpost arms, or over your head. Each of these will change what's opening, and each of these will adjust as you take an inhale breath and see what expands in your body. So take an inhale breath, see what expands, and maybe on that exhale, take an open mouth exhale and just fully allow the props, the floor, the mat, and your breath to just hold you. You don't need to be doing work today to hold anything in this class. We're here to release and let our bodies rest and recover. And in any of these poses where we're lying face up, if you ever want to add an eye pillow as you close your eyes, that can just allow for an extra layer of rest and relaxation, especially if you work on screens often during the day. We underestimate the amount of eye strain I think that we are causing on our bodies in this setting. So feel free to place something over your eyes if you'd like to, or just close them. Take one more breath, and then on your exhale, begin to press your elbows into the mat, come up to your palms, slowly rise yourself back up back to an upright position. We're going to come into toes pose next, which is another highly sensational pose. And so from this position of saddle where we have our knees bent underneath us, just press your hands into the mat underneath you or in front of you. Bring your knees together, tuck your toes underneath. And then we're just going to spend just a couple minutes, not the full time in this pose. So tucking your toes and then sitting your hips back onto your heels, completely waking up the entire bottom of your feet all at the same time. Saying good morning to something that will hold you up throughout the rest of the day. Making sure that all 10 toes are tucked underneath. And we're just going to take 5 breaths here in this pose. Sometimes I like to spend more time in this pose just to remember what it's like to have deep sensation, remember what it's like to use my breath to make it through moments. This morning, we're just waking up our feet. Just take an inhale breath. Imagine that you're breathing all the way down to your toes. Take an exhale. Let it go. Spend 4 breaths here on your own. Last breath together. Inhale. And exhale, open mouth. Begin to put your hands out in front of you. Slowly untuck your toes. You might feel a lot here. Maybe you want to pitter patter them on the ground just to get that blood flowing back through. Then sit back on your heels for a moment. We're going to come into some wide-legged forward folds while seated. And so go ahead and shift on your mat or your space so that you can stretch your legs out to the side. And go ahead and just stretch your legs out, maybe out at a 45-degree angle from each hip. And we'll do this on each side and the middle. And so you can decide which side you would like to do first. If you'd like, I'm going to go to the left side first. And so if you'd like to join me for that, what you'll do while your legs are out is just adjust in any way that you need to so that you can feel like you're grounded, feel like your spine can be up tall for just a moment. Take a big inhale breath. And then on an exhale, twist your upper body so that your chest is facing over your left knee. Take another inhale breath. And then on an exhale, place your hands on each side of that knee and decide, well, go ahead and just walk your hands out on each side and begin to drape your chest over your left knee. You can change this in many different ways depending on what you need today. You can keep your legs straight and just stretch yourself as far as you'd like, noticing that stretch along your right back, also along your leg. Or you can adjust so that you have twisted over your leg, but now you find yourself maybe with a block or your elbow is down on the mat on the outside of your knee. And you want to arc open so that you get more of that side body stretch. So you twist your chest so that it's open a little bit. Have your right arm over your head. Wherever you are, make sure that you are not holding your head up, not gripping in your neck. So if you need to bend your elbow and rest your left arm on your left temple to hold your head up, do that. No need to have any gripping in our neck, our jaw, or our head this morning. We'll hold our heads up throughout the day. Take 3 more breaths on this side. And then pressing your hands on each side of that leg if you had them adjusted. On an inhale breath, slowly walking them closer to your body, coming back up. And then before we shift over to the right leg or the other side, just press your hands or place your hands down in front of your legs. Take an inhale breath and just look up to the sky, up to the ceiling, opening your chest, opening the front side of your neck. And then exhale, come back to neutral. Just going to do some neck stretches here in the middle before we shift to the other side. So on your next inhale breath, drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Noticing what that feels like along the left side of your neck, maybe the top of your shoulder. Spend 3 breaths here. Come back to neutral on an inhale breath. Then drop your left ear to your left shoulder. Spend 3 breaths here as well. Just observe which side feels like it's gripping a little bit more. Nothing to change, just observation. And then inhale, come back up to neutral. This time we'll twist and shift our chest over our right knee. And then begin to walk our hands out on each side of our leg, draping our upper body over our right leg. Choosing where you'd like your hands to be, if you'd like to do that position where you open up your chest to the sky. Bring your left arm over your body. You're welcome to do that. Or if you'd like to use a block or a prop or the mat, to place your right hand on the outside of your right leg and hold your head in that way. But wherever you are, see if you can notice the sensation across your left back, across your legs, and come back to a deep breath, noticing what it expands in this pose. Let something go. See if you can release a little bit deeper into this on an exhale. Just let your body stretch out and open up. As we get things flowing again, that encourages our body to continue to work in the way that it does, where it can heal certain things just through allowing movement. And so we can encourage our bodies to just keep moving, just keep swimming, and get closer to a place where we can feel rested, recovered, and into a new chapter with more healing. See if on your next exhale, you can let something else soften, whether that be your left hip, the right inner thigh, or your neck. Coming back to your breath if you ever lose it. And if you need to do this throughout your day,
One simple trick that I often do is just take 3 deep breaths, and that same thing that we've done in several poses, just notice what it feels like it's expanding, notice what it feels like it's gripping, and ask myself, what can I soften? What can I let go of? How can I unclench my jaw in this moment? This can be really powerful if you experience anxiety throughout the day, or if you experience other physical sensations that are new in your body. Just take a couple breaths, notice where the breaths go, see if you can use the breath to soften, relax, or just take a reset moment. When we allow or encourage or even force our brains to shift focus from something to something else, it can just interrupt the cycle of anxiety and calm our nervous system down in a really powerful way without having to do very much. So on your next breath, plant your hands on each side of your leg, walk yourself back up. And then in that inhale, or in that center place, just take an inhale breath, look up towards the ceiling or the sky again, opening up your chest, rolling your neck around here. And then on an exhale breath, just allow yourself to drape forward between your legs. Maybe you can come down onto your palms, maybe you can come down onto your elbows. Maybe you want to have your arms bent or stretched out, whatever works for you. This will definitely remind you of the sensation in both of your inner thighs more than likely, and just allow your head to drop between your arms. You won't be here as long as the other sides, but this can be a great place to come back to breathing into your back, stretching that out. And similar to toes pose, just sit with the sensation. You got this. It's a lot, but it's only for a minute or so. Press your hands into the mat, slowly walk yourself back up. I'm going to come onto all fours into cat-cow position. So adjust yourself as you need to, bending one leg at a time, bringing them in, shifting around on your mat so that you can come with your knees under your hips, your hands under your shoulders. And in this tabletop position, we'll just take 5 rounds of cat-cow to wake up our spine even more, get it moving again. We've been stretching it out, but haven't really moved it as much. And so on an inhale breath, drop your belly, lift your head up. And then on an exhale, press into the mat, round your spine, drop your head down. Do this 4 times on your own, moving with your breath. Last one. And coming back to neutral. Our second to the last set of poses is going to be pigeon pose this morning. And so if you know that this doesn't work for you, you're welcome to lie on your back and come into figure 4. You bend your knees and cross one ankle over the other knee. Maybe reach through and grab onto that thigh. But in pigeon pose, what we'll do to get here from tabletop is we'll just spread our hands a little bit wider for a moment. Take an inhale breath, and then we'll start with our right leg forward. So lift up your right knee, bring it close to your right wrist. And similar to what we did for deer pose, but this time we don't need to have our shin parallel to the front. We're just moving our knee to our right wrist, our ankle towards our left wrist, but definitely probably not touching it unless you have that. That's great. And then stretch out your left leg behind you. Maybe you tuck your toe under and shift your knee back a little bit. And then wherever you are, if you need to add a block or a blanket underneath your right hip so it's not just dangling in space, you're welcome to do that. But similar to wide-legged forward fold, press your hands into the mat,
look up towards the ceiling, open up your chest and the front of your throat. And then on an exhale breath, we'll just walk our hands out in front of us. Maybe you come down onto a prop in front of you if you'd like to, or just come down onto forearms. Maybe you want to drape your entire chest over your front leg and your chest can come down onto the mat. No judgment. There's no goal here in these poses other than using your breath to feel sensation in your body. There's no levels of hardest, easiest, best, worst, most, least pose. Any version of the pose is the pose. It's your body, your breath, and your class. So if you're doing something different than you've done before, that's what you need today. So in pigeon pose on this right-hand side, noticing the sensation in your right hip, seeing where you can let something go. Maybe that is shifting your hand and arm position so that you can fully allow your head to release and relax. Maybe that's tucking your left toe under so that any sensation in your left knee adjusts and doesn't feel as funky as it did a second ago. Wherever you are, just be here in this pigeon pose, in this really intense hip opening on your left hip and compression on your right hip, and stretching all throughout that general area. Coming to our last 5 breaths on this side. See what else you can let go. See where maybe you'd like to invite yourself to go a little deeper. And then pressing your hands into the mat, coming back up, placing them next to one another, tucking that left toe underneath, and then slowly coming back in your own way, in your own time, to that tabletop position. Maybe swaying your hips side to side. Take 3 cat-cows. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, dropping your head. Inhale, dropping your chest. And then from that neutral place, this time we'll bring our left leg forward. So picking up your left knee, bringing it towards your left wrist, shifting that right leg back with your toe tucked, and then untucking it if you'd like to, leaving it tucked if you would, adding anything under your left hip that you need. And the sensation definitely changes the closer you bring your left foot in towards your hips. And so you can adjust as you'd like to notice if you'd like to have your leg more outstretched and parallel to the front of your mat, similar to deer, or if you'd like to have it tucked in. Everyone's hips are really different, and so take what you need.
And then we'll take an inhale breath, look up towards the ceiling, open up our throat and our chest. And then exhale, walk your hands out. Come down onto forearms to palms. Drape yourself over your left leg. And come into pigeon on this left side. This will be our one of our last poses before Shavasana. So take what you need from it. Come back to your breath. Your final 3 breaths on this side of pigeon pose. Coming back to your breath if you lost it. And then pressing your hands into the mat. Coming back up. Just rolling over that left hip and coming down onto your back in whatever way makes the most sense for you. When you come down onto your back, just bring your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around them or grab onto your knees or your shins and give yourself a hug. Rock side to side. Notice what feels different than it did about an hour ago. And then just plant your feet on the ground and move your hips. Plant your feet on the ground with your knees up to the ceiling. And we're just going to do a brief twist this morning. I encourage you, if you would like to spend more time on your mat, to come back to these twists just because they are amazing for all of our internal systems and just wringing out any other tension. But we'll just have time for a brief twist this morning. So on an inhale breath, just lift up your feet off of the mat. On an exhale breath, just drop them over to the left side of your mat, keeping both shoulders on the mat and your chest up to the ceiling. We'll take 3 breaths here in this brief twist. With our knees over to the left. Noticing what a breath feels like, noticing opening in your side body, compression, and opening simultaneously. After that 3rd breath, activating your core, lifting your legs back up to the center, adjusting as you need to make room to be able to go to the other side. And then exhale, dropping your knees over to the right side of your mat, keeping your chest faced up towards the ceiling, both shoulders as close to the mat as you can. Take 3 breaths on this side. And then on an inhale breath, lift your knees back up to the center. And just stretch your legs out in front of you, or take any other movements that you need to. Spend the next few minutes here in Shavasana. Make any adjustments that you need. Grab a blanket to add over you, eye pillow. Maybe you want to place a bolster underneath your knees so that they're propped up, and adjust in any way that you need to feel the most comfortable. Shavasana is 100% your pose to do as you need. You can lie just flat on your back or add any props around you and build yourself a little fort. Take an inhale breath, expand your belly, expand your side body, and take an open mouth exhale. Just let it go. Just be here. I'll be silent for the next 3 minutes, and I'll let you know when it's time for us to take our final breath together. So just let everything soak in. Be grateful to yourself. Shavasana. Begin to take a breath and wiggle your fingers and your toes, coming back to your body, coming back to the room that you're in. If you found yourself wandering. And in your own time over the next breath or so, go ahead and wake up your body even more. Maybe curl your knees back into your chest and roll over to one side. Press yourself up into a seat. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed if that works best for you. And then once you found yourself in a seat, just bring your hands either over your heart or together, palms together at heart center. We'll take an inhale breath together. Let it go on an exhale. Thanks for taking time this morning to practice with me. Hope that this adds to your day. And remember to celebrate your accomplishments. Be grateful for your breath. And trust yourself that you know what you need. Might be different than what you needed before or what you'll need in the future, but you know. Have a great day.